Joshua, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. It was awesome talking to you in the green room. We went on this very interesting, I found very interesting and enriching kind of conversation about life and human dynamics and stuff, which is kind of par for the course for me. But I really, really appreciate you breaking out of your busy schedule as a founder to talk shop. How are you?
Good, man. No, I love our conversations always. I'm good, man. It's good to be here at the time of recording. We're in December, so you and I are both wrapping up the year, trying to figure out what life and our companies and family and all that stuff looks like going into the new year. So no, it's a perfect time to be catching up, man.
Real quick, just for the folks out there, if you could kind of dive into your background. I know you did YC and I know you've been at it for a while doing a lot of different things as a founder. What inspired you to launch Vector?
Yeah, super good question. So yeah, my background is, I'm a lifelong nerd. I started my career in the Air Force as an intelligence analyst. I've been coding for 15 years, but I've always loved being customer facing. So most of my career was spent as a solutions engineer or leading sales engineering teams. And most recently, I led the sales engineering team at a company called Drift. So we sold to marketers and CROs. And one of the things that I thought was really, really challenging for a lot of go-to-market folks is that we spend a lot of energy trying to sell to people that don't want to hear from us. Like at any given time, like only 5% of people are in market looking for what we have to offer them. But yet we spend all of our energy trying to create automation to figure out like who's the other 95%. And so I was really inspired to figure out like how could we build a company that could help go to market professionals understand the 5% of specific contacts that were actually in market and searching for what they have to offer, even if those people haven't raised their hands.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think, as go to market professionals, whether you're sales or marketing pro, that really resonates with us. And I think as a salesperson, especially when you're like collaborating with marketing, right? We've all been there where it's like, oh, here's a lead list, and they have high intent and they got 3.5 stars and or whatever, right? Lead ranking stuff. And then you like send an email or call the prospect on that list and they're like, who?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I was looking for a job last month and went to your website. Oh, or whatever, right?
Yep.
And so to your point, they're to be able to understand how to prioritize what I do as a go to market function or organization. I need to be able to understand who's in market. So that's really, really cool. And I love that. I did want to ask you about something kind of unrelated to go to market, even though it is part of the whole journey as running an organization. I know as a founder, you're really focused, and I should say, I know Nick really believes in this as well. Your co-founder, if you were to give advice on how to focus on that idea of wowing your customers and what this looks like, and how do you kind of bake this into the company culture, what advice would you give founders or leaders out there on doing this effectively?
Yeah. This is really big for us at Vector. Like customer experience and putting the customer at the center of everything we do is the number one like culture carrying thing we have. And the reason for that is like look around at the last couple of years, like technology is a lot easier than it used to be, right? Like you can go take a prompt and like spin up like a pretty good MVP at any given time. And so the companies that are really going to win in the next decade are the ones that delight their customers the most, understand their customers the best. And so, at Vector, even at our stage, if a customer chats into like our intercom widget in app, like they get me and they get me within like 30 seconds of chatting in, assuming I'm not on a meeting. Right. And like these are the sort of things like actually I have it on my desk. Like this won't scale. Like companies that believe in doing things that won't scale, I think is a really critical part of having a healthy, enduring customer base.
Hmm. Yeah. I love that. I mean, that's my mantra, right? Doing things that don't scale until you just can't anymore, right? And so that founder-led motion, I think, is critical. And I would even argue that this is important even beyond just the early stage startup, right? Like, how do you mimic these sort of unscalable things and do as many as you can, even as a large organization?
Yeah, I think the mistake that large organizations make and is that they think that customer experience or like wowing our customers is like a really expensive thing that you have to do, right? It's like, oh, we wow our customers by doing like retreats in Sonoma or like taking our top 10 best customers to Scottsdale, Arizona, right? Like this is the way that large organizations think about like great customer experience or like treating your best customers super well. But like those things are good and fine, but that's like if you want to have like a customer advisory board, right? If you want to have like 10 folks that help your product team and you as a CEO figure out like where you should go direction wise. But think about like that does not help the other 1,000 of our customers that are not in that customer advisory board, right? So I think about customer experience even at a late stage as all of the things that are interwoven into the company's DNA. And so whether this is like SLAs on like how fast you respond to somebody when they fill out like a demo request, how fast like your support team is designed to like get back to your customers. Like one that I think about, or two that I think about a lot as like really specific examples that even large organizations should be doing is like one, like get to the demo fast in your sales pitch. Like it is 2024 in this recording, 2025 probably when this comes out. Like the fact that we're still taking like 9 meetings to just show someone our product is ridiculous. And it's the first sign that a company has really bad customer experience. If like you can't even show me what I showed up for, like like that blows my mind that like this is like a really easy thing that we could be doing to treat our customers like they're adults and they're smart, but like we make them jump through hoops and it's just insane.
How should an organization define what the customer experience means to them?
Yeah, this is hard, right? And like this is where I think trying to measure everything gets really difficult. Like I'm one of those CEOs that like I'm a big believer in marketing even when it can't be measured, right? Like there's a feeling, there's a culture, there's an experience. And so like, we if you go look at like our G2 reviews, like very frequently people are like best brand, best experience. I ran into issues, but like an engineer jumped on the phone with me at like 9 p.m., right? Like these aren't things that like we have a dashboard that like we measure of like, oh yeah, we had great SLA or like these 7 engineers were able to like jump into customer calls when they weren't asked to. It's just something if you have. And to be honest, if you have to question whether you have it, you don't have it, right? Like your customers will tell you
Mm.
whether you have this. And so I'm sure at larger organizations there are some ways to like put metrics behind this, whether it's like time to SLAs or NPS or all these sorts of things. But like you just whether you're building an organization that has this culture.
And how do you align go to market functions? And I'm just going to say that, as you know, we've been talking about sales and marketing alignment, and I probably mentioned it. This is the God, I think you're like almost 120 something, almost 130 if episode of this show. And I probably mentioned it every show, and we hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And if you think about the alignment, like how do you make sure that that is top of mind? How do you make sure that all these ICs and leaders are like eating and breathing, providing the best customer experience? Because to your point, it's not something that you can just put into a playbook and go, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. Like we have to give a shit. We have to care. We have to want to reach that extra inch individually and audible when is needed.
Yeah. I think this is one of those things that's really hard to fix if it's broken because it is like a genetic DNA thing in the company that has to be set like all the way at like the founding days of like how do you create ownership in a company and how do you hire people that have ownership larger than their individual role. Like we've all seen it, right? Sales just wants to hit their own number. They don't care if that customer might churn at some point. The account manager just wants to renew the contract. They don't care if they're successful or not. Like I just churned after 2 years from a company that was supposed to help us get SOC 2 compliance. And after 2 years, like we still hadn't received SOC 2 compliance, and
Wow.
they didn't care about whether or not we were actually using their software to get it, right? It was just very clear that like as long as we kept on the product and kept renewing, like all the individuals that got the renewals were happy. And so I think this is something where from like the very early days, you have to hire people that understand the what's happening in the business and want to take ownership over it. So like an example the other day is like we have this culture at Vector where we ship meaningful, marketable moments to our product every 2 weeks. And a couple weeks ago, we were a little bit behind on this very fast, rapid deployment schedule. And I went to our engineering leader, Andrew, and I was like, hey, I need you to go to the team and sort of address the fact that we're kind of behind on this deliverable, and like feel free to blame me as like the crazy, wicked CEO that is like burning everyone out. And his response was incredible. It was like, I'm not going to blame you. He's like, I'm going to take ownership because even though I'm in engineering, like I am responsible for the happiness of our customers, right? So I'm not going to throw you, the CEO, under the bus. I'm going to go as the engineering leader to my engineers and tell them that like I too want us to ship quickly and make our customers happy. And like that's like once you don't have that culture, it's really, really
Mm,
hard to reverse it.
yeah. You know what, Josh? Isn't it awesome that we're like circling back to our human sort of fundamentals, right? And we're like, we have all this software, we have AI these days, which is going to definitely have a profound impact on humanity
Yeah.
in ways that I don't think we can even see. We have all these business models and et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, we're talking about your engineering leader being empowered and caring enough, like being focused and checked in enough, and
Mhm.
again, sharing the collective goal of providing that great customer experience in a way that again is not in the playbook, right? I mean, that for me it's like it's heartwarming, but it also makes a lot of sense because I think at the end of the day, like as a sales leader back in the day when I would run teams, my playbooks and my tools and my CRM, if the sales rep didn't give a shit, didn't care, didn't
Yeah.
find some sort of connection to his or her team around him or her
Yeah.
and the larger mission,
Yeah.
then it didn't matter. Then they weren't going to put in, they may like put in some notes in the CRM just to not get in trouble, but not in a meaningful way that would actually be useful. They
Yeah.
wouldn't follow the processes in a way that was putting their heart into it, which we know that sales is a transfer of energy, right?
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, it is.
Yeah.
And so it's again those fundamentals.
Yeah. Well, you and I talked about this in backstage before the show started, and you're right. I wish we would have hit record on it because it's true. Like at the end of the day, like we're all just a bunch of humans that are, trying to show up to work to achieve something personal, right? And so, like, I think knowing what that personal thing is really important to building a company, right? Like, you mentioned beforehand that like wealth is not a like enduring good motivator long term, but I think like if you double click on like for example, why sales reps want wealth or why they're motivated by wealth. It's not actually the wealth. It's like what the wealth unlocks, right? It's like, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to retire at 45 so that I don't have to be on this grind, right? Like these are things that like are truly human in nature. And like as leaders, if we can understand the why behind every single person on our team, we can build this culture where we can tie all the things we need out of them to the things that they really
Mm.
want out of why they're here. So yeah, we're all just humans at the end of the day.
You know what concept came to mind when you were saying this was at the end of the day, we just want our ability to exercise our free will,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Freedom, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when you said being able to retire by 45 so I can do XYZ.
Yeah.
Isn't that to be able to exercise my free will one way or the other,
Yeah.
right? Be able
Yeah.
to continue to work and maybe launch a new company or whatever,
Yeah.
or not, or
Yeah.
sit on the beach and develop a spiritual practice or take it to the next level, right?
Exactly. Spot on, man. I couldn't agree more.
I was just also thinking about, you were in the intelligence community
Yeah.
before, and you're seeing all these fellow former colleagues, perhaps, and maybe at some level or another, talking about aliens and like, imagine what the aliens are doing. They're looking at us and going, "Look at those little humans
Yep.
doing XYZ running around." But anyways,
Yep.
um, I had a question.
Yeah.
You're a CEO, you're a founder, you're thinking about operational costs.
Yeah.
How do you rationalize and plan, maybe if you have a board, right, and maybe organizations that have, again, the board or some other stakeholders or investors who are more involved and maybe don't share the same qualitative understanding of the impact of customer experience and delighting those customers and the culture and all the stuff we talked about. How do you sort of rationalize that and plan that maybe we are going to spend a little more and maybe we're going to be inefficient sometimes in pursuit of this wonderful, delightful customer experience?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think there's two parts to this. One is, like I mentioned before, I don't think customer experience has to be necessarily expensive, right? It's not this thing where like I go to my board and I say like I need $1 million budget to go do X, Y, and Z to delight our customers, right? It's, hey, I need a traditional budget of support and success and et cetera, but we're going to use these roles in a way that puts a really heavy emphasis on success and happiness. So I don't think you need a ton of money to do it. And in fact, if you're a leader and you think that you are um, blocked in making your customers successful by budget, you probably need to rethink what that actually means. Um, but that being said, I do have our investors that I have to appease. And again, in the green room, you and I were talking about these different journeys, and you've been on both of them, right? And I'm on the journey right now where like I don't work for myself. I have investors, and I've got outcomes that I need to bring them to, and so they are always curious how we're deploying capital, and so you know yes, you can't measure every single thing that customer experience means. Just like many cases in marketing, you can't attribute every single activity or touch point directly to revenue. But my my goal as a CEO is to make sure that my board and my investors and I are aligned in making sure that we all understand that there are these unmeasurable things, but at the end of the day, the metric they care about is retention and expansion and revenue. And so, yeah, while I can't tie every single thing to it, like we are able to look at our, net retention and net dollar retention and say, like, we're doing something right, right? So that would be kind of my advice is like, if you're quote unquote doing these customer experience things and your net retention is down or your customers are unhappy, something's falling off
Mm.
somewhere. And so in that case, your investors would probably be right. Like you would need to double click into like what are we doing? Is it our product? Is it our experience? Because that's the other side of the coin. It doesn't matter how great your experience is if your product is shit, right? Like you're not going to be able to retain these people even if you're the nicest person in the world. And so being surrounded by people that understand not everything is measurable, but ultimately our big rocks are measurable and the things we do should contribute to them is super important.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to shift gears here a bit and dive into Vector, and particularly if you had to speak to CMOs out there around prioritizing strategies that would allow them to understand what I know you all have been sort of articulating as signal-based marketing intent data, right? So, like maybe we can start off by saying, here's what this is, right? And here's why you should prioritize this as a CMO out there.
Yeah. So at a very high level, Vector is helping marketers understand where to focus their energy, right? So, like at any given time, only a small percentage of any company's TAM or ICP is actually interested in buying from us. And if you don't know what percentage that is, what ends up happening is you spend a lot of time and resources trying to market or sell to everyone and just hoping that in that sort of, like, forgive the language here, but that shotgun spray, you hit some of the people that are actually interested in buying. And that means all of the people that you're hitting that are not buying are either wasted dollars, right? Because you're putting marketing dollars or ad spend or sales rep effort onto them. Or even worse, you're actually frustrating that 95% of people that don't care to hear from you right now. And like, that's what we see happening a lot in the world right now is like everyone's excited about like clay and like automation and like signals that give us excuses to talk to our customers. But what doesn't often get glamorized on the LinkedIn posts is like, yes, I sent 2 million cold emails to my prospects and booked 200 meetings. It means that there was 1.9 million emails that got sent that probably bothered somebody or landed in spam. And so helping marketers understand where to focus that energy is what we focus on. Now, we're not the first ones to market with these claims. There's a lot of like legacy ABM providers that will say, hey, these companies are in market for what you're doing. The problem is the company's bit, right? As a seller or anyone that actually has to action the data, the next question after you know a company is in market is who, right? Like, who do I go talk to? Who is interested in this? Because a 20,000 person organization surging or showing intent means that you now just have a really fancy reminder that you need to go figure out like who out of the 20,000 people caused that to happen. And so, what we're helping marketers do is the contact level specificity of knowing who's in market.
Awesome. Josh, thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom and experience. And again, I really appreciate it. We should have definitely hit the record button at the beginning in the green room there, but maybe we'll figure it out. Those things are hard to replicate, right? So
Yeah.
they're sort of organic. But if folks wanted to learn more about Vector or yourself, maybe connect with you to follow your content and insights, what are the best URLs or channels to reach you?
100%. Yeah. So definitely come connect with me on LinkedIn, Joshua Perk. I talk to everybody. Even if you just want to get on a call and just nerd out about this space, I'm happy to do it. And if you're interested in, contact-based marketing or contact level intent, you can always go to vector.co and check out what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, have a wonderful day and happy holidays and to an awesome 2025.
You too, man. Cheers. Great to see you.